Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. My name is Mordecai the Hunter, and I'm here to help you shoot better at cowboy action. I've retaken this intro like 5 times because I have no idea what I want to say or how I want to say it, and I'm used to talking voiceover and reading a script as opposed to actually talking to the camera. But in the spirit of trying new things, I figured we'd go this route for one video and see how it works out. It definitely won't be in one take. I don't know, I'm just going to keep recording, we're going to see what happens. Today, I just wanted to take a minute to talk about my journey with cross-draw holsters. Now, currently, I am using double strong side holsters, which means that I pull the right pistol with my right hand and the left pistol with my left hand. And because I'm right-handed, I usually transfer the left pistol to my right hand to fire. The difference with a cross-draw holster would be this gun would be turned towards my right hand. So instead of it being facing to the left, I would be actually pulling it with my right hand and then putting it back like that, as opposed to drawing it with my left hand and transferring. In fact, let's just switch out real quick for fun. We're going to be talking about the cross draw part anyway. Now the real question is, do I still fit into this belt? All right, let's see. So I think that goes there, and that goes there. Okay, so as you can see, one of the biggest advantages to cross draw is that you can draw both pistols with your dominant hand, which for me is my right hand. So as you're coming up to the line, you can draw that first pistol, right, ready to go. And then draw the second pistol, right hand. I'm sure you guys have seen it before. Okay, so for me, this was a huge deal. Being able to grab both pistols with my right hand, I didn't have to worry about transferring it from my left hand. I was still kind of bobbling that whole process a little bit. And I even did at one point try the whole shooting with my left hand. So, like actually holding the gun and trying to work it backwards. And it just never felt great for me. So the ability to draw both guns with the right hand, get a good grip, pull up, present, and shoot was just so great. And I really enjoyed that whole thing. And I really like the transition. So rather than having to pull the gun up, transfer it to my right hand, transfer it back, and then holster it, that just felt so much more awkward than get done, holster, draw the next one. It was like, this was just like, oh man, it just feels so cool. As I miss my holster. Okay, so one of the biggest thing with cross draw is that you need to make sure you don't break the 170 rule, which if you're pulling the gun from across your body, you have to make sure that the barrel's not pointing off and back into your left or anything. So one thing that some people struggle with is turning their body to the right to make sure that the barrel is pointed downrange once they pull it. Now for me, my natural shooting stance already kind of had my right foot back and in this, almost fighting stance. So I was used to being in this position even before I started doing cross draw stuff. So the transition to being in this position, drawing the gun so that it was pointed downrange, all that was super natural for me. I did take a couple nights just to practice the transition. So I would practice drawing, working the hammer a couple times, rolling my hand over, grabbing the frame, and then coming back down to the holster, and then drawing the next one, obviously. But it was mainly this transition right here where you roll over, push it down, pull the next one, and then you try to make it so that you're doing these at the same time. So, right. So that's part of what makes this transition so fast, is the fact that once you're done shooting here, you can be holstering it as you grab for the next pistol. Okay, so I took a few nights to practice all that, and everything was feeling great. And really, after I did it at a couple matches, I was feeling pretty comfortable with the whole process. When you're first getting started, I would encourage you to take a couple nights up until a live fire match to really just do this, get used to the process. And then when you actually get to the live fire match, take your time, like really go, especially it's great for stages where you're starting with pistols or something like that. If you have the opportunity, just pull your first pistol, take your shots, and then even if you catch yourself starting to do this, stop yourself and get used to doing this transition. And the more you do this transition on the clock while you're moving around or having to think of other things, the easier it will become and the quicker you will internalize and gain that muscle memory. So again, I practiced for a couple days at home, whatever, get used to this. Be very aware of your 170, especially when you're doing live fire. And then when you get to the range the first couple of times, maybe that's the only thing you work on that day. You just show up and it's like, okay, I'm going to be really focused on pistols today. And then if you can start with pistols, great, because then it's usually hands on hat or hands at sides or even hands on pistol. you can really get used to nailing this transition smoothly. And then as you get better, you can kind of speed it up. So I did that for probably a month or two where I really just got into the groove, and then finally got around to the part where I could start focusing on other stuff. And really, that's the way you want it to be, right? You want to be focused on something specifically while you're learning, and then eventually you get to the point where that's just muscle memory and you don't have to focus on that so much, and you can focus on other things like how you approach a stage or which direction you want to shoot the targets in or something like that. So I guess the first challenge that I really ran into was figuring out the holsters themselves. I wonder if I've got those. Okay. So the first big challenge was figuring out what I wanted out of a holster. And I'm not rich by any stretch of the imagination, so I decided I was going to start off by trying to make my own holsters, which was kind of a journey in and of itself. I tried a bunch of different angles, I tried different drop heights, and then I also kind of toyed around with the type of belt I wanted. And then eventually, after several months of playing around and hand stitching all this, super like 6 to 8 ounce leather or whatever, I finally came up with a rig that I liked. The belt was right, the heights were right, it's pushed out a little bit from my body. I did end up using some metal on the inside to get it to stick out like this. But the point is I spent a lot of money, time, and materials on trying to get to this place. So if you don't think those cowboy holsters where they've already done all this work for you is worth it, I will tell you that I probably spent more money trying to do it this way than I would have if I had just straight up gone to buy a cowboy rig. So not to discourage you if you want to do, if you're interested in doing your own leather work or you want to try some of this or whatever, there's a lot of cowboys that have experience creating their own leather and may have some of the patterns that can help you with this. But if you're starting from scratch and you're not unwilling to ask for help like I was, just be aware that you're not saving any money. Unless you're a lot better. I mean, and you may be a lot better than me too. I don't know, whatever. One of the last things I will mention before I let this go is that if you are building your own rig, be sure, especially if you're using a rig like this where the holster sticks out away from your body, that you have retention on the pistol itself. I just don't want you to get to a match and have a gun fall out of your holster, okay? It's a match DQ. You probably paid a lot of money, maybe spent some time traveling there. Yeah, it's going to be a real bad day. Ask me how I know. Okay, so after I got used to doing crossdraw holsters, got used to the transition, everything like that, and figured out all my holster stuff, the first thing that I kind of ran into where I was starting to have problems is I wasn't able to turn left. And I know that sounds kind of goofy, but if you think about it, you have to be turned to your right-hand side in order to draw this first pistol. So what I was running into is I'd get done with my rifle or I'd get done with my shotgun, and then in order for me to turn left, that makes the holster face back towards the crowd instead of downrange. So that means I can't draw this pistol first. And usually when you're doing cross draw, you always want to draw this pistol first. So I'd get done with my rifle, I'd set it down, and then I'd be like, crap, I've got to get to wherever I am. I'd have to turn, and then I could draw this pistol and start rocking and rolling. And that just seemed super inefficient to me. So one of the first ways that I kind of got around this was what you can do when you're done with your rifle is you set that down on the table and then you draw at the same time. And then once you've got the pistol out of your holster, you can turn to the left and you can move. So, and then you get into position and you can pull the hammer back and you can start firing. So that was the big thing, was just I would always put the rifle or shotgun down with my left hand, draw that pistol, and then I would move. Another thing that I could do, I found out, is that I could actually just step backwards. So I would start here with my rifle, I'd be putting this down, and as I was drawing, I could be moving like this, and then I'm good to go, which is great for like short distances. So if I only have to move a couple feet, or if I'm just trying to get around a barrier or something like that, this kind of transition was fine. And it was actually pretty cool on a couple ones. I really enjoyed it, and everything worked great. The other way that I got around having to move left, this really came more into effect when I got to moving long distances, or I got to the point where I was discarding with my rifle with my right hand. So if I'm moving to the left, I get done with the rifle, I discard with my right hand, I can turn, and then what you can do what's called a reverse cross draw. So instead of drawing your left pistol first, you actually draw the right as you're running. You turn, you get started, and then rather than coming back to your original pistol, what you do is you turn this like you normally would, but then you draw this pistol first, cram that left pistol in there, and then come back up. And then that way you're still holstering this right pistol at the second as your second pistol, But it kind of gets you around the whole not being able to turn left thing. So I guess that's the 3 ways that I dealt with being able to turn left on the firing line. So you start with a rifle or shotgun. You would either set it down and draw at the same time, which is a super popular method, or you would draw the right pistol first and then reverse cross draw. Now, I think I only really did that on like one stage where it was timed, and it did look super cool. I'm not sure that it saved me a whole lot of time. Usually when we're talking double strong side, you can be drawing and that transition's always the same. But I got to the point where I was doing this. Oh, sorry. I got to the point where, I was doing this, and even when I practiced at home, it still took me an extra second to get this pistol out. And then you still have to look this one in, make sure it's secure before you go to the next one. So I don't know how much time I was really saving. And it's one more thing that you probably may not practice very often, or you could easily mess up while you're at a big competition or something like that, and that'll cost you time. And the whole point of doing it was to save time. So it just seemed not as great. Oh, okay. So the next thing that I noticed was that whenever you're using cross draw, you always holster the second pistol with your right hand. So what that means is that if you are not shooting pistols last, or you're moving from pistols to a long gun and you need to be able to reach with your right hand, you have to, when you're shooting the second pistol, in order to go from like pistol to rifle, you have to finish putting that pistol away before you can reach for the rifle. Whereas if you're using double strong side, you could be putting the pistol away as you are reaching for the rifle. So it's just kind of maybe an eighth of a second kind of thing. It was an efficiency thing for me. Anyway, this probably isn't a big deal for a lot of the pros, but over the course of 10 stages, fractions of a second can really add up. So it's just something to keep in mind. I do remember watching a video a long time ago about this really skinny kid that was able to do one of these things where they draw this, and then as they're reaching for the rifle, they could put it into they could use their left, like they could still roll it over their left hand and then put it in that holder. But I don't know, man. It looks super awkward. He was a tiny person and I seem to be only getting bigger. I don't know. I don't think that's like, I don't think I could find the right position to make that really worth it. I don't know that I could do that on a consistent basis that wasn't dangerous. So, using my left hand to holster my right pistol on my right side was never really like a great option for me. Even though I have seen it on the internet before. And if you can do it, awesome. Please do it safely. Yeah. The other thing that I'll mention here is at this point, really, we're just trying to keep things as simple as possible. And anytime you have to think about doing something weird or something that's unnatural, it's going to take up room in your mind that you may need for other things, such as like the order you want to shoot the targets in, or what gun's next, or whatever your round count is, or whatever. So just be aware that you can practice anything and make it great if you got to that certain point, but this seemed like more effort than it was worth, I guess. So, okay. So the last thing that I noticed about me shooting cross draw, which kind of probably is the thing that pushed me over the edge, is that I noticed that a lot of the tables, especially the lower ones, I was having trouble getting to the gun after I was done with a long gun. So I'd be crouched over. Let me see if I can do this. So I would be crouched over shooting my rifle, and I would put it down on the table. And then in order to get to my pistol, I don't know if you can tell, but it's kind of scrunched up here against my belly and my shotgun belt, where my shotgun shells usually rest. I have some dummies around here. All right, so I put some dummy rounds in my shotgun belt to hopefully make this a little bit easier to see from y'all's end. But, I was getting to the point where I would be down here. So I like to keep I like to keep my cross draw holster kind of in front of my left leg, and that's part of what keeps it facing down range whenever I'm in my shooting stance. But what that does is that means if I have to bend over to get to a rifle or something like that, I can't bend very far. And then if I'm putting the rifle down, then I had to do one of these lean back things to pull it out before I was able to come up. So I'd be here, I'd be shooting, I'd be even if I like had a higher table, I would still have to lean back before I could shoot, and then I would have to lean back again to get it in here and then draw. And I know I probably could have maybe messed with the angles a little bit. I know a lot of these people that when they do this, they'll kind of turn and they can get it and still be bent over. But it wasn't working out for me. Like either the angle that I had or something, I was doing this, maybe it was just bad habits. I was doing this lean thing and it was getting pretty consistent on all the videos that I was watching of myself shooting. Anyway, it just felt like a super cumbersome transition. This is a super common transition. So going from rifle to pistol, I didn't need another excuse to like be drawing my strong side and then doing the reverse thing, even though I probably could have used some practice with that. It just wasn't doing it for me. And then, in addition to the having to do extra stuff to move left and, worrying about it coming out of the holster while I was running, and it was just kind of a whole bunch of stuff that came together that made me decide that maybe I should go back to double strong side, because, really when you're looking at a double strong side rig, where it's placed on your belt makes a little bit of difference. But for the most part, like, I had these normal high performance holsters, which are kind of up here at where the handle's up at the belt. And then I was able to get a couple of lowered holsters, which is what I'm currently running. And those were just super comfortable and they kind of answered all my problems. So, after messing with this for so long, it just felt like the benefits didn't outweigh the drawbacks. So at the end of the day, really all these things can probably be mitigated with some practice. I probably could have messed with the angles a little bit more. I could have made this work. And if you are interested in trying cross draw, I think you 100% should. I'd also like you to keep in mind that there are a lot of other fast shooters out there that use cross draw, that shoot better times than me and have really gotten ahead of all these challenges and figured it out. So don't think that I'm the end all be all of this. This has just been kind of my challenge, my journey, and how I have dealt with all the different things that have come up. All right, guys, so I guess that's all I have to say about that for today. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please let me know in the comments if you think I missed anything or have ideas for future videos. I'm happy to review those, and maybe I'll even take your idea and run with it. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you all on the range.
You gonna miss me? Stand by. Oh, we do see it. Four, 1, 8.